Okay, I remember my first communion at Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Oklahoma City in second grade. After communion, we all got up and did Now Thank We All Our God with hand motions as a class.
One memory that sticks with me is a beautiful song that we sang after we received our communion in a spirit of humility. O Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldst come to me. I still remember it.
And scared to death. Just knew I would do everything wrong and I wouldn't be there and they would be mad at me. And so that was my kind of remembrance of my first communion. And then when I did it, it was just the most beautiful thing in the world.
And I remember it being a very special occasion, and I had on an all-white dress, which was a first for me, and I felt very nervous.
We had a big breakfast of all the First Communion kids in one of the classrooms over at what is now still the school, but it was a wonderful day. And Father Beckerly, the founding pastor, was the celebrant of the Mass for our First Communion.
I made my First Communion on the Feast of Corpus Christi by myself. And at the cathedral, the Feast of Corpus Christi, they have the brass and the strings and basically the orchestra in the choir loft. And so I was there in my little suit with my boutonniere and thought all of this was for my First Communion. I was so excited. And it was to some extent.
My First Communion was here at St. Mary's in 2011 at the Vigil Mass. And I just remember it being so beautiful with the darkness and the candles and the long ceremony with lots and lots of readings, but it was just so meaningful. And that was the first time I was able to receive the full presence.
I made my First Communion at St. Catherine's Parish in Toledo, Ohio. The priest that gave me my First Communion was Father Huffman, and I remember it was April 3rd in Ohio. It was snowing.
Well, I was about 4 years old. I was living in Germany, and I was christened and baptized and went to Holy Communion. My First Communion was in Germany.
I remember my First Communion clearly. It was 1979. Father Harry Bartnick from St. Pius Church gave me communion. He held up the host and said, "The body of Christ," and I was astonished. This was Jesus, so my mouth just opened, and although I had prepared to receive on the hand, that day I received on the tongue.